What is up, everyone? Prometheus here. Today I'd like to give you some news. If you read the title, yep, it's legit. I actually plan on doing a Blood Meridian movie. No one has ever done this. There have been multiple attempts at doing so, but they all end up failing. They all end up being cancelled. Martin Scorsese, James Franco, they've all tried their hands at a Blood Meridian movie. They've all failed, even Ridley Scott. Well, if you don't know me, Blood Meridian is one of my favorite books of all time, one of my favorite pieces of media and stories in general. It's fantastic, but it's also a really complex and layered story. You know, it's not easy to understand on first reading. That's why you have to return and hyperanalyze certain parts of the book. It's really complex stuff, and it's also really brutal, which is one of the reasons why every adaptation of the book has failed. Well, I think I might have just cracked the code on how to do a Blood Meridian movie. And that is to not do a Blood Meridian movie at all. If you know me, I like analog horror. Currently I'm working on a feature-length FNAF analog horror, The Violet Man, which it's coming in October. Be patient. And I've been thinking of new analog horror projects to do. So I've been looking at literature and movies or other properties I could adapt into analog horror. I thought of doing a Spider-Man body horror, analog horror. And yeah, I'm still planning on doing that. I plan on doing a Scooby-Doo analog horror, which is weird, but I like to ruin your childhoods again. And I also looked at I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the iconic short story that features Am, which is a part of the quote-unquote most evil trio that also includes Judge Holden and the Q. And while I was romanticizing with the idea of doing a I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream analog horror, I looked on the internet, and yeah, everyone's done quite a lot of animations and done their little adaptations of the book. There's already a horror game based on it. I don't really think I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream analog horror would add much, really, because people have already done kind of stuff like that, so I don't really plan on doing that. Maybe some type of analog horror, or some type of content related to I Have No Mouth, I Must Scream. Like, maybe I could do my own cover of the Am monologue, but who knows. Anyways, I don't see too many animations of Blood Meridian, or any fan adaptations of the book. It's a really complex and violent one, with content that would most likely get channels demonetized. And I wouldn't blame YouTube because, yeah, no, this book is not for the faint of heart, and a movie based on it would not be for casual viewers. It would only be for ones that could stomach this type of violence, ones with the strongest minds, strongest wills to go watch this movie and come out unscathed. But even the most brave individuals would probably come out disturbed either way if they made a Blood Meridian movie and put it in theaters. I bet some theaters would even reject a Blood Meridian movie. And that's probably one of the reasons why it was so hard to make a Blood Meridian movie in the first place. Right now, they're currently producing a Blood Meridian movie with John Hillcoat for the director, and I think that could be good because John Hillcoat has directed a adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's work in the past, The Road. He's even a friend of Cormac McCarthy, and McCarthy trusted him to direct a Blood Meridian movie, but unfortunately, a couple years ago, Cormac McCarthy passed away, and that's sad. So, there is a possibility that John Hillcoat's Blood Meridian could get cancelled. And if you know me, I love film. And I like to analyze and critique movies and write reviews of them, or just watch them in general. Like, I currently have a whole bunch of movies over here that I'm gonna watch soon. Have a whole bunch rented from the library. But I've also always had the dream of actually doing a movie, so I don't have the money to pay for a project with actual live actors or anything yet, so I then looked to analog horror, a highly accessible form of entertainment, a form of horror that anyone could do if they have the right editing software. So I tried my hand at that. I've made a few analog horror short films that some people have liked, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement there. So I've decided, after The Violet Man, which is my first feature-length film, analog horror film, it doesn't really count as a film, it's a feature-length analog horror, more so or less, After that, I'm going to take some feedback from that, because I know that film is not going to be perfect by a long shot. But I'm going to take what I learned from the Violet Man movie, and I am going to adapt Blood Meridian into an analog horror film. I've always had the dream of doing. Whenever I read movies, read books, or anything that hasn't been done in a film yet, I always think, how would I adapt this into a movie if I were a director? Like, when I'm reading the Blood Meridian movie, when I'm reading Blood Meridian as a book, I look at certain parts of the book and I think, how would I adapt this into a movie scene? How would I shoot this? Who would I cast as Judge Holden? Would I censor this, or would I keep this in? No, I'm not censoring anything in this book. I want to stay true to Cormac McCarthy's vision and have this a raw and unflinching vision that doesn't sugarcoat anything. Like, I've always had ideas in my head on how I would adapt this if I were a film director, which I'm not a film director. Even this analog horror film I'm doing right now, The Violet Man, doesn't count as a film, and that doesn't make me a director. I'm just a content creator, and I do not have the money to pay for a film with actual actors, let alone the rights for Blood Meridian. Like, no, I'm just a normal guy in a basement making analog horror. So I thought, why not try my hand at analog horror? Because there's a lot of possibilities on how to tell a story through analog horror, and Blood Meridian is a very complex and layered book, but it's also very violent, horrific, and I think that could work in analog horror form. So, after The Violet Man, I'm going to start writing a script and kind of visualizing how I'd adapt this into an analog horror. I have titled this film Project Holden for now, because it's not legit yet, but it is my next project after The Violet Man. And if you haven't read the post yet, I also have some other feature-length analog horror films planned after The Violet Man and Blood Meridian. I plan on doing a prequel to The Violet Man, as well as a sequel to make kind of a FNAF analog horror film trilogy, but those are a bit far out, as if I'm concerned. But this Blood Meridian movie, I've always dreamed of being a director. If I did ever become a director, the number one film I'd want to direct the most, the number one thing I'd want to adapt the most, is Blood Meridian. Because I have a vision in my head, and even though I can't do a live action one, I'm going to try my best to adapt those visions into analog horror. Probably going to have to learn to get better at animation and add a bit of variety. It can't just be just jump scares, text, and distorted audio the whole time. It has to be different things. I'm trying to do that with The Violet Man. I have some different types of sequences to kind of differentiate from the rest of the typical analog horror stuff, and The Violet Man is still a very experimental film. It's not I'm not trying to make an absolute... I'm trying to make it good, but I'm not trying to make it perfect. I'm trying to just test my skills at analog horror. And I'm trying to get feedback from it, and I'll take that feedback, I'm going to apply it to Blood Meridian, and that I'm going to try to make my magnum opus. So, stay tuned. I'm going to be writing a script for this after The Violet Man, and hopefully in the next few years or so, you'll be seeing a Blood Meridian analog horror movie on YouTube. I've been waiting for a Blood Meridian movie for so long, and I finally thought, fine, I'll do it myself. I'm sure John Hillcoat's Blood Meridian will probably end up being made, and it could be good, but I want to bring my own vision to life, because I've already had my vision for an ideal analog horror film of Blood Meridian, ideal film in general of Blood Meridian, and I thought, why wait for it? Why do it? Why wait for it? Why wait for someone to bring to life a vision that will probably never see the light of day? So instead, I decided I'm going to bring this vision to the light of day myself, because who else could do it but me? I doubt any other director has these same ideas as me. We're all different people. We all have our own visions, our own interpretations of the book. So instead of waiting for someone to make the perfect Blood Meridian movie, my own dream Blood Meridian movie, I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm gonna bring that dream to life. So I'm going to be doing some research. I'm going to have to read this book again because it is not easy to understand, this puppy, but that's one of the best parts of it. So, stay tuned. Blood Meridian movie is coming your way, and I'm directing it. I'll see you in the next one. Prometheus out.